Hello and welcome you crazy people, my name is Jay and in this video I'm going to be talking about why I've recently been a little bit down or perhaps a little bit negative on Star Wars Legion. Now there's a variety of different things to talk about, so I've made some notes, so if you see me looking, I'm sort of looking at my notes. But these reasons, some of them are, I'm going to say FFG in the game. Some of them I think are just the world situation going on right now, and some of them are essentially just personal issues that aren't related to any of those, maybe related to YouTube and stuff like that. So I've just not been feeling, it's hard to get into a game when you're not playing the game and when there's not much coming out. So it's hard to be hyped, if that makes sense. And on a personal level, my terrain channel has done really well. In the last couple of weeks, it's actually overtaken this channel in terms of subscribers, and it's getting more views and that kind of stuff. Put it in perspective, it like in the last 28 days it got like 500 and odd subscribers, whereas this channel got less than 50. So you can see there is a disparity there. So on a personal note, it's hard not to just want to put most of my efforts into the thing that's going well, if that makes sense. But there's quite a few other things that we'll talk about here. One of the big ones is the one that I just alluded to, which is the world situation right now. I get a lot of my enjoyment out of Star Wars Legion by playing Star Wars Legion. I know that's such a five-head insane concept, obviously, and I suspect a lot of you people are the same. And if we can't play the game, and I've not played since February because of lockdown and coronavirus, I don't really see the point in taking chances and stuff like that, so I've not even gone out and played. I don't begrudge anybody who has done. If anything, I booked a tournament to go in October, and I was going to go play, and then it looks like the UK is heading into a second lockdown, so not getting to play the game, to meet people, to talk to people, share laughs and jokes and stuff like that at events is a downer. And obviously that's nobody's fault. Actually, a lot of people are in the same boat, and I appreciate it's like first world problems when, you know, people are actually like suffering and that kind of stuff. So I'm not claiming that this is the world's greatest issue in life, the fact that I can't play Star Wars Legion, but you know, it is what it is. And obviously some of you be like, hey Jay, why don't you play on Tabletop Simulator? And I don't mind Tabletop Simulator, but it doesn't really give me the same feeling as playing in person and going to events. I really like going to events specifically just because you meet so many people, and then it's nice to play with friends one-on-one, alternatively just because you get like more in detail conversations and stuff like that. But yeah, I can't really get that from TTS. And quite frankly, if I was going to play video games, then I've made like an MMO channel. You do not need to go and subscribe, but there will be a link in the description. And I prefer to play games that I actually like instead of like a simulated version of a tabletop game. So, and to be fair, with a second lockdown possibly on the way in the UK, it's likely that I'm just going to spend more time doing that channel because it's stuff that I'm naturally doing. Like, I don't enjoy painting miniatures. I don't enjoy what's it called, like kit bashing and stuff like that. I enjoy playing the game. So, you know, that's one thing. It's not really anybody's fault or anything like that, but it is just the way it is. And I've got to check my next one. So that's like that's the thing where I'm just not getting my enjoyment from the game, which is causing me to be less hyped and interested in the game, if that makes sense. And I think it's completely understandable. I'm not blaming anybody with that. And the next thing, which I think in my head, like personally, it's bad, but actually it's probably good, and that is the announcements. So I moaned a little bit about the Gen Con announcements just being Maul and Anakin, basically, because I was like, oh, it's a little bit underwhelming. But I hope, and it may not be the case, because it might just be that they didn't have anything because of the coronavirus, but I'm sort of hoping that we're going to see, and I've said this for many months and many years, a release schedule where the announcement is actually just a few months before it comes out, like maybe like 1 or 2 months, rather than say like, I think Maul and Anakin coming out maybe in January, which is like 4 or 5 months away from when they announced it. So I'm hoping that's actually a sign of things to come, that we're going to have some good announcements closer to the time of when they come out. But in the short term, it's really like not having anything to be really hyped about, like we don't have Clone Wars, etc. Like that big of an announcement. Really sort of taking the sting out of the game for me a little bit. Because quite frankly on YouTube, if I've not got announcements and I can't play the game, then I have nothing to talk about. Basically. So so the announcements could be good, could be bad. But I would have loved to have seen, and I think this sort of fits in this category, but not really, would have been, I would have loved to have seen just more interesting way of selling their current products. So I think, like I've always talked about, like one player starter boxes. If you give a one player starter box, which is say like 500 points per faction, and you sell it like that, which is good for the skirmish game, I just feel like you're getting, it's just, I don't know, it's just such a good way of entry. And then you could maybe do like a start collecting, well, not even a start collecting, like an expansion box, which would maybe be like the extra 300 points. And you could maybe, if you sell maybe for your core price, or maybe the first one's like £8 or whatever it is in your dollars, or like your core box price, and then somewhere in between, you could have like an 800 point army for like really cheap, and it'd be really cool. Might not be the best army ever, but it gets you into the game and it gets you on the table. So I really wanted to see stuff like that, or what's the other one? Like sub-faction boxes would have been a nice way to do it. So like the sales model, I would have liked to have seen something interesting, but maybe that's all was planned or is planned, but the coronavirus might have like stopped it basically. Now that does lead me to, some of you be like, hey Jay, there's no point in them putting like phase 2 troopers in a core box when nobody can buy them. Now, this is a big problem for a lot of people. If you've been trying to buy anything for Star Wars Legion recently, unless you basically are on that first wave, you got your pre-order in and the stuff actually arrives. Because I think like ARC Troopers and stuff like that, a lot of them never made it to the US, so there might have been issues with the delivery. Like maybe it fell off the cargo ship and obviously nobody can say anything. So, or maybe the boxes were damaged. Whatever, there's certain like rumors going around. I literally have no idea personally, but stock levels have been a constant problem before the coronavirus, and the coronavirus has obviously not made it any better and has probably made it worse. So we are in a situation where you can't play the game, can't buy the game. So the stock level is really just something I think FFG need to sort out. So I don't mean to be completely negative in this video. I'm just sort of giving you trying to give you a holistic view of, some of them are me, some of them are FFG. And stuff like that. Some of just the world situation right now. This one is possibly, stock levels is possibly a combination of FFG and the world situation. But yeah, like there's a lot of things to be said there. Like I think Games Workshop produced some of their miniatures in the UK. That's why they were able to pretty much just like say, well, we're just going to reprint the Indomitus box, and it's going to be out before the end of this year. We're going to have it like in 90 days or 120 days, whatever it was. Now I think they do some stuff in China still, so I'm not trying to be like, they're so great for not using China or anything like that. I'm not getting into that. But, FFG don't have that luxury. And a bit of me thinks like a company as big as Asmodee should, maybe be able to sort it out. But I'm not getting into that right now. And then this next one, and I actually will show you something on the screen, even though we're already 7 minutes into the video. And, if your attention span can't last that long, then we're already naffed. And that's pricing, right? So now this is, again, not... It's just something that's in my head. It basically stops me collecting everything, if that makes sense. Like the pricing has increased since they went to sprues. Now that's not necessarily a incomprehensible thing. They're spending more money on the mold injection molding process and all that kind of stuff, and the design and all that kind of stuff. So if anything, it's sort of good to see, but it does increase the price. Now, that just increased the cost of getting into the game and the cost of buying and collecting every faction. So, for example, the ATRT went up it went up like $5 RRP, but in actual reality, that for some reason is getting sold $6 cheaper than the other one. Which they're not like for like, obviously, because the ATRT is, I'm losing my voice. The ATRT, it's probably got slightly different stuff. It's got a different rider and that kind of stuff. So you could argue that they're different, but in all intents and purposes, it's the best like direct comparison that we've got. But that's like across the board. You can see that like the ARC Troopers are more expensive than the Scout Troopers and all that kind of stuff. So, what interestingly, in the UK, this is a bigger problem than it is in the US, because in the US these are $35, for example, right? And I was like, oh, you can get them for $28 for 7 miniatures. That's cool, out of stock, obviously. And then I was like, well, what if you compare that to Games Workshop? And you get 10 miniatures for $50. I was like, oh, FFG is still looking good. Then I realised there's actually a bit of a transatlantic divide there, and I won't necessarily talk about it too much here, but the Scout Troopers in the UK are $31.49, which is about $40 if you did a direct comparison. But then the Primary Space Marines, 30 quid. So much cheaper. So they're about that. Let's say that's $38. So there's a bit of a you know, a sea in front of us between us. So I'm not trying to. I'll probably go into a different video and maybe elaborate a little bit more on that. But the pricing has gone up since we've got the better plastic and the better miniatures and stuff like that. However, that does mean that I'm not collecting everything because I don't want to spend all that money on it, and it also means I also don't like assembling them, quite frankly. A bit of me would have really preferred just single piece miniatures because I'm lazy and I'm not that bothered about the quality of the miniatures. So it's a very tricky balance, that I think, to get people who want the really good stuff versus people who aren't really bothered and just want to play the game, and they've gone for the really good stuff. I guess that's the GW sort of like method, so it makes sense to follow the competition, the main dominant force in the market. So let me just recap a little bit. Some of my videos were a little bit negative. Some people thought there was one video I did that sort of sounded negative, but I actually wasn't, and that was talking about the competitiveness in Star Wars Legion. I actually don't think competitiveness in Star Wars Legion is a problem, but you know, I phrased it maybe like it was a negative title, but it was actually quite a positive video. But as I said, like some of them, the terrain channel is doing really well. Therefore, I'm, you know, putting a lot of time and effort into that. I can't play the game because of the world situation. That's nobody's fault. That's inadvertently sending me to my MMO channel. That's nothing to really do here. I don't want to play TTS. I've already forgot what I was talking about. There's not been that many announcements recently possibly because of Corona, possibly because of shift in marketing. It's really hard to say, but either way, I'm not necessarily blaming FFG for that in a sense, although I would have liked to have seen them, you know, pop out something a little bit more aggressive in terms of like one play start boxes and all that kind of stuff. Stock levels are pathetic. It's not good. Whatever way, this has been a problem for months and months and months and months. They obviously don't want to throw money at it to solve it, so they're happy to have people not be able to buy their stock. So I think that's a problem, but you know, it is what it is. And the pricing has increased because of the new models, quality and the injection molding and sprues and stuff like that. That's not really a problem. It's just, you know, it's one thing that's sort of keeping me from buying everything and being super hyped. So there we have it. I was going to a tournament in October. I would have probably gone and enjoyed myself, but without that on the horizon, it's a little bit difficult to see what I'm gonna play it next. And channel wise, I just don't know. I think like I'm gonna randomly still talk about just new games that come out, like that Armada and stuff like that Kings of War Armada, etc. But I don't know what I'm doing. Is basically the plan, and it is what it is. Have a most beautiful day. Don't like and subscribe because I'm not sure this makes any sense. Goodbye.